This is the Berman Method podcast featuring Dr. Jake Berman and physician assistant Jenni Berman. We are here to treat problems and not symptoms. Disclaimer, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not to treat anyone or to give medical advice. If you are interested in any information that we are giving and would like to use this for yourself, we recommend that you contact your primary care physician or reach out to us and ask us questions about yourself specifically. Enjoy.
And we're rolling, baby. Rolling. The Berman Method podcast, David against Goliath, where we are focused on treating problems and not symptoms. Dr. Jake Berman here with my beautiful wife,
Jenni Berman, physician assistant.
JBB, if you're on her good side, if you're really friends with her, Jenni Bear Berman, that's our nickname for her. Haven't said that one in a while.
It's been a while.
All right, so Jenni swallowed a frog.
Ribbit.
So her voice is not 100% today, so if everybody doesn't mind, I'll be doing most of the talking. Don't I do most of the talking anyways?
Generally speaking, yes. And what if they do mind?
Well, tough titty, said the kitty, but the milk is still good.
Oh, okay. We'll just skip over that part.
So David against Goliath, I just want to make sure that we say this at least once or try to say it once every podcast because it is what we're trying to do. We are David going against Goliath. Goliath is the corporate medical system, where we truly believe that the corporate medical system, especially here in America, is focused on treating symptoms and not the problem causing the symptoms. So your blood pressure is high. Here, take this blood pressure medication to lower your blood pressure, opposed to treating the reason why it's high in the first place. Diet-related, stress-related, whatever it is, right?
Correct. Right.
Same thing with pain. So your back hurts. Oh, take this pain pill. Or even better, let's do an injection instead of fixing the reason why the back pain's there to begin with.
Yeah, just feel better for the next 48 hours.
Right.
Or week or whatever.
So that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We have a major cause. Our mission is to help as many people as possible avoid needless surgeries while maintaining a high quality of life. Because you can avoid surgery by popping pills all day long.
Right. But
your quality of life suffers.
Right. You're not going to maintain the level that you were living at before pre-medicated.
Correct. Today, I want to talk about feet, shoes, plantar fasciitis.
I have that.
Then why do you think I want to talk about it today?
It's painful when it happens.
Yes, it is. Plantar fasciitis, bunions. Bunions are a big one that I want to talk about today.
Neuromas.
Because
I have a client right now with a neuroma. I was trying to explain that she doesn't need surgery.
Most likely.
Usually.
Yeah, most likely. Just got to figure out what's going on in there.
Right.
So the first thing that I'm going to go out and say and see how many people get mad at me for saying this is supportive shoes and orthotics are bad.
Oh, no. But my doctor told me to wear them.
Supportive shoes and orthotics are bad for 99.9% of the population. There is a very small percentage of the population that does have a true congenital abnormality of the foot structure where a supportive shoe and an orthotic is appropriate.
Okay. So otherwise, for these different diagnoses where they're telling us to wear orthotics to make our feet feel better, that's treating the symptom and not the actual problem.
Correct. Why does the foot hurt to begin with?
Mm-hmm. What about wearing shoes around the house?
Oh, this drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts. So our daughter, Stella, has a shoe fetish. She will be 2 next week.
Next week. Ah!
Did you forget? And she has a shoe fetish. She's had it since she's been old enough to move, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts me for 2 different reasons. One of the reasons is because of my pocketbook. As she continues to get older, more and more shoes.
Yours?
But the main reason is because she will not take the damn things off.
She wants to wear them all the time.
All the time. Wants to wear them to bed. Wants to wear them in the bathtub. She wants to wear them everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it drives me nuts. And we're going to get into the reasons why it drives me crazy. But before we can get into that, let's go back to the 1800s.
Were you alive then?
Was not, but I heard. I read books.
You read it on Google?
Read it on Google, watched documentaries, read books. That the women used to wear corsets back in the day.
Yes.
Do you know what a corset is?
I do. But that's not on your feet.
It's not.
Okay.
So for those of you that are listening that don't know what a corset is, it's essentially a back brace. It was a back brace back in the day before back braces, but it wasn't for the purposes of supporting the back. The reason why women wore corsets back in the early days, 1800s, was because it was a device that pulled your midsection in real tight to essentially slim you down, give you a slimmer look. The thing about the corsets were that while the women were wearing them all day long, they did not have back pain. But as soon as they took the corsets off, they did have back pain. The reason why this happened is because when you wear that corset, that is giving you external support. Giving your back external support, meaning that the muscles that are supposed to give you internal support, the muscles that are supposed to be the supporters, they don't have to work anymore. So when the muscles don't have to work anymore, you don't use it, you lose, and they get weaker and atrophy and essentially just turn off. So when the ladies were wearing the corsets all day long, they were supportive, so their backs did not hurt, even though they were extremely tight, and I can't imagine how comfortable it was. They were not in pain, though, until they took them off. When they took them off, now they have no more external support, and because they had been wearing them for a while, the muscles had turned off, so they have no more internal support, and that led to excruciating back pain. The reason why that's relevant to feet is because shoes are a modern day corset. A shoe does to your foot what the corsets did to your back. When you put your foot in a shoe, a nice supportive shoe, and you lace it up real tight and you wear it for 12 to 15 hours a day, the muscles inside the shoe don't have to work anymore. Those muscles have a purpose, and that is to support your foot. So there's over 100 muscles, like ligaments and tendons in the foot alone.
100?
100. Google it.
That's a lot.
But more importantly, there's 16 muscles in the arch of your foot. There's 4 layers of 4 muscles in the arch of your foot. And those 16 muscles' main role is to support your foot, support your arch, give you arch support. So when you wear a supportive shoe or an orthotic, whose main role is to support your arch, then those 16 muscles don't have to work anymore. Now, everybody should know this by now. If you don't use a muscle, what does it do? Does it get stronger or does it get weaker?
Weaker. Don't use it, you lose it.
Right. So what happens the minute you have to wear a different pair of shoes because you forgot your supportive shoes or they're not handy, so you had to wear a different pair of shoes. What happens?
Then your feet kill you.
Your feet kill you.
They hurt so bad.
Oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. Just get home and honey, can you just massage my feet for me, please?
So, and I think the biggest thing people notice is when they wake up out of bed in the morning that their feet hurt really bad. That's usually where it starts out, right?
Well, that's for plantar fasciitis.
Okay.
The plantar fascia. The plantar fasciitis is usually presenting with sharp heel pain or sharp foot pain in the first few steps out of bed in the morning. However, a lot of people who think that they have to wear a supportive shoe are the people that are on their feet all day long, like healthcare workers, nurses, for example, or line chefs, things like that, where you're on your feet all day long, and they usually start out pretty good, but in around the 8th or 9th or 10th hour, their feet start to kill them. So that's why they start, I don't know if we should name drop anything right now, but everybody's seen these supportive shoes out there, the ones that have, what is it, like the little curve on the bottom of them? Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little curve on the bottom of the shoes, and the doctor guy that has all these orthotics, you can go into CVS and just step on that little thing and he'll tell you exactly which orthotic you need.
Right.
So those are the two main things where, plantar fasciitis, you have pain first thing out of bed in the morning. And then the other complaints are your feet are just killing you by the end of the day.
So then they start wearing these orthotics and they feel better for a period of time while they're wearing the shoe, but they're actually getting weaker, causing more pain in other areas of their life when they have to change the shoe, or when they're walking at home without shoes on, they can't because of pain.
Correct. It ends up being a snowball effect.
So one thing, I guess maybe you're going to get to this, but so if they wear these orthotics and their feet feel better for majority of their day, who cares if it hurts for 5 minutes when they get home before they go to bed? Is it causing a problem further down the line?
Okay, yeah, we're definitely skipping a couple steps here, but we can do that. We can go there.
Well, no, I don't.
No, let's do that.
Okay.
Because that's a very valid point where a lot of... Well, let me give you the opposite. Let's say that you wanted to get out of wearing supportive shoes and orthotics, and you wanted to just be a normal human again, not having to rely on supportive shoes, wear whatever kind of shoes you wanted to. That requires work, right? It requires work to wake those muscles back up in the arch of your foot. And people, by nature, are lazy. Right? People don't want to work because it takes effort. What do you mean I have to exercise the muscles in my feet? I don't got time to do that. So what people would rather do is, well, as long as I wear my supportive shoes, as long as I have my orthotics in, my feet don't bother me, and I don't care if they bother me for a few minutes at the end of the day or first thing when I get out of bed in the morning, because as soon as I put those magical shoes back on, the pain's gone. And you asked, well, what happens later down the road? That's where things start to become tricky, because this ends up becoming a snowball effect where generally the muscles start atrophying in your 20s and 30s and 40s, because that's when we're wearing shoes a whole lot. And then when you start to get older, that's when a lot of people start to notice the bunion, right? So you look down at your toes and your big toes are pointing in the opposite directions, and it's like, what the heck is going on? And then eventually that starts to become painful.
Bunions aren't genetic?
No, bunions are not genetic, contrary to popular belief. I know that there's women right now saying, but my mother had horrible feet. She gave them to me. Yeah, well, my grandmother had horrible feet. And the reason why she had horrible feet was because she grew up during the Depression, right after the Depression. So she was forced to wear shoes long after she outgrew them as a child. So she's cramming a big foot into a small shoe. And it's essentially like what they do over in is it Japan or China? I think one of those two, where it's a sexually attractive thing to have a small foot. So they'll intentionally keep their feet in smaller shoes to
try to stop them from growing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. How did we get here?
Because we were talking about later on in life.
Oh, later on in life, and we see the bunions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bunions. And then the bunions become painful. Then you go to the podiatrist, and he says, "Yeah, you need bunion surgery." Okay. What does that mean? Well, we're going to go in there. We're going to break your bone, and we're going to put a rod in it, a pin in it, and reposition it straight again. Oh, that sounds great.
But you were talking about how shoes can get us to that point, to the bunions.
Right. So we could, I don't know how far down this rabbit hole we want to go into. However, let's just say this. We can do a whole nother podcast on this. And I can say that the number one cause of bunions is a weak gluteus medius.
Your butt.
Yeah, this one of the smaller glute muscles. So not the max, not the big butt muscle, but the gluteus medius. That's the one that gives you hip stability when you're standing on one leg. So again, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole. We can do a whole nother podcast on this. However, the number one cause of bunions is glute medius weakness.
Wow. Who knew that your butt could cause issues to your feet?
Me.
And probably vice versa. Your feet can cause issues to your knees.
Correct.
The Achilles tendon.
Correct. Yeah, all of these things. So that's where this thing comes back to bite you down the road is who cares about wearing shoes and orthotics for the majority of your life if you only have pain at the beginning and the end of your day? Well, what ends up happening is the joints above start to get wore down. So a lot of knee pain issues can be stemmed back to poor arch support.
So another question, this is a little bit away from what we're talking about right now, but can these orthotics cause tightness in the muscles of your feet? So then the muscles don't work efficiently?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't think so is because an orthotic replaces the need to use a muscle. And when a muscle is not being used, it doesn't tighten. Usually muscles get tight when they're overused.
Right. Or protecting.
Or protective?
Protecting.
Yeah, they're protecting something because they're being overused. Yeah. Okay. So let's give an extreme example because I think it's relevant. We had one gentleman that came to us and he was told that the only answer was to have bilateral foot surgery. His feet have been so weak for years that he could not walk from his bed to the bathroom without wearing a $500 pair of supportive slippers to go from the bed to the bathroom because it was just that excruciating. So when he came to us, he actually came to us for back pain. And so we're treating the back pain and troubleshooting things. And he had mentioned the foot issues a couple of times, and we were just treading lightly because usually when people have been told by the doctor, the podiatrist, that they need surgery, it's hard for us to come in and say, well, maybe not, because it's just hard to undo that. So it takes a while to build the trust and confidence into new clients before they really believe that we know what we're doing. So back to this guy, he had foot pain for years. He couldn't walk from the bed to the bathroom in the middle of the night without wearing a $500 pair of supportive slippers. And he ultimately said he wanted to get back to jogging. And I said, okay, you can do that. However, your feet are going to be your limiting factor. Regardless of orthotic, supportive shoes, whatever, your feet are going to be your limiting factor. And if you want to do that, I highly recommend you allow us to start working on your feet. And he agreed. I was like, okay, this is great. So we started working on the intrinsic muscles, those 16 muscles in the arch of the foot, getting them woke up. And fast forward 6 months later, he has zero foot pain. Zero. It took 6 months, but he has zero foot pain. He can walk to the bathroom in the middle of the night with no sandals at all or slippers at all. He's not wearing orthotics in his shoes anymore, and he's going on 3-mile walks, building up endurance to get back to jogging, and he has zero foot pain. Simply because we focused our attention on strengthening the little itty bitty muscles in the foot to give yourself support, give the arch support. So that's an extreme example. However, it's not an uncommon example where we've been doing this for years now. I like to say that 75% of what we see is back pain. It's the easiest thing for us to fix. I mean, we could do it in our sleep. However, we really specialize in the foot and the ankle, or the foot and the elbow, because those are two pain areas where nobody really wants to spend time on really figuring out what the problem is. They rather just say, go get some orthotics for your foot or go get a tennis elbow brace for your elbow. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So we've been doing this for years, finding people that have had these issues, bunions, trying to avoid bunion surgery, trying to avoid chopping the bone off and putting a pin in it, fusing a big toe. I know there's somebody listening to this right now that is on track to have their big toe fused, the big toe joint fused. Please do not do it. Please, please, please do not do it. I have not met a single person in my career who has had that procedure done where it didn't lead to multiple other things down the road, not related to the foot at all, that was the limiting factor in our ability to get things better. Up the chain, usually back pain, knee pain, because the frickin' joint is fused. You can't do that. Can't do it.
So there you go, that your feet can cause other issues with your knees, your ankles, your back. So quick question, what about people with flat feet? Can you help flat feet? Really? Because a lot of people with flat feet have foot or ankle issues, and they're always told that your ankle is weak because your feet are flat, or your, whatever, the midfoot is painful because your feet are flat.
Great question. And I'm really glad that you brought this up because I completely forgot that we were supposed to talk about it. Where this is in one of the chapters in my first book, Treating Problems, Not Symptoms, when we're talking about the foot, where I grew up going down to Jamaica. My grandparents had a house down there. So I used to go down there a lot as a kid. And I remember going down there recently, right before I was writing this book. So probably 2000, I don't know. When did we go down there?
14? No. 16?
16. Whenever it was. And I remember watching everybody, or just watching people, because as a physical therapist, you're constantly analyzing people's gait and everything about them, really. And I remember being down in Jamaica watching the locals, the Jamaicans. They don't wear shoes. Jamaica is a third world country, right? It's not first world. So shoes are a luxury. So when we're off the campus and we're out traveling the town, people are not wearing shoes. And I remember seeing every type of foot that we see here in America, meaning high arches, neutral arches, and flat feet. I saw all three of those in Jamaica. And I asked multiple people, do you ever have foot pain? And every single one of them said no. Like, what? No. So that was part of the thought process of saying, who cares if you have an high arch or a flat foot or even a neutral foot? Just because you have that does not mean that you can't get the muscles to support your foot, meaning that if you have a flat foot, you've still got the same 16 muscles in the arch of your foot as somebody with a high arch. So flat-footed or not, spend some time getting the muscles working, support the foot, and the pain should go away. How's that for an answer?
All right.
I know that there's people listening right now shaking their head.
Yeah, so you can still activate the muscles even though there's not technically an arch there. It's still the same muscles that have the same ability for activation.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Good.
Cool. Yeah, but I think, you're right. We could do a whole nother podcast talking specifics about other diagnoses, issues with the feet, talking more about bunions, talking about neuromas, talking about plantar fasciitis itself, and not just
the foot in general.
Yeah. I mean, that was a good intro, but I think we could even go more in depth about talking about some of these different feet issues. And I mean, look at me,
Don't even get me started on you.
I've done a really great job at getting away from my supportive shoes, and it is helping my feet. But I have long time Achilles issues, which we think have stemmed from weaknesses in my foot of my left hip. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very complicated thing you got going on. So when we first started dating, you had a very narrow, long foot. Like it was very narrow just because you've been wearing shoes, lacing them up real tight for a long time.
Which is very interesting because I actually, growing up doing gymnastics, I was barefoot all the time.
When did that quit?
But then in college, I started wearing wearing shoes a lot.
Exactly.
Because I started exercising in an actual gym and running.
Yeah.
So I was wearing very supportive.
Yeah, you're running, so you need to wear a supportive shoe when you run, right?
Yeah.
No.
And then I started with Achilles issues.
Yeah. So we could spend a whole podcast just talking about your foot as a case study.
It's true. Because it's improved since Jake, for Christmas, bought me running shoes that are not supportive running shoes.
She hated them.
I had to transition into them for sure. But I will admit that the arches of my feet hurt a lot less on a daily basis now that I'm using the less supportive shoes and focusing on some other exercises that we had talked about. So
isn't that crazy? Your feet are hurting less now that you've switched to a less supportive shoe.
And doing exercises.
And doing some very specific exercises for hip stability.
Yes. So yeah, I could be your own testimonial.
Okay, so not to beat a dead horse here, however, I don't know if it was clear enough. I do not like orthotics.
Or shoes.
Or shoes.
If you know Jake Berman, you know he's always barefoot. And you used to be known as the one that's barefoot with no shirt on all the time. But now he wears a shirt most of the time. So now he's just barefoot Jake.
Only because my job makes me
wear a shirt, but you don't have to wear shoes. So
no, my boss says it's okay to go shoeless.
The boss makes everybody go shoeless.
The boss doesn't make everybody; he just encourages it.
Got it.
Just encourages it.
So one funny story before we leave. When Jake first started his practice, he was always like, I'm not wearing shoes at work. I'm not wearing shoes at work. And I was like, then you better wear socks because feet are gross and people don't want to be looking at feet all the time. So for like the first 2 years of your practice, right, you wear socks to work?
Yes.
And now?
Dear. Yes, dear.
And now he doesn't wear socks anymore. Now none of them wear socks.
Well, because think about it. When you wear a sock on concrete, we have concrete floors.
That's true. Before you had carpet.
Yeah. So when you wear a sock on a concrete floor, it creates instability. So when you have instability, the muscles in your feet don't work as they would if you had stability. It's essentially a lesser extreme of walking on ice. The way you walk on ice is very different from the way you walk on dirt or grass or something like that. So wearing socks on concrete creates instability. It doesn't allow you to get the right push off. So there's a reason, not just because I'm maverick here and revolting against the establishment, which I kind of am,
no.
Right? But
yeah,
there is a legitimate reason.
Right. Because the first couple of years you were on carpet and now we've transitioned. So
yeah.
So don't wear shoes to work. May not be acceptable in every location, but don't wear shoes when you can.
Minimize the amount of time your feet are in a shoe. That's the take-home message. Minimize the amount of time you confine your foot into a corset.
Cool.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was fun. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure you subscribe to this. And until next time.
Ciao for now. Thank you for subscribing on your social media and podcast platforms to the Berman Method. Dr. Jake Berman with Berman Physical Therapy and Jenni Berman, Physician Assistant with Berman Health and Wellness. You can find more information on our website, www.bermanpt.com for physical therapy, bermanpt.com/wellness for the health and wellness. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and on your podcast platform. So be sure to follow us, like us, subscribe to us. And if you would like any further information, definitely visit our website and reach out to us. You may also find our free reports on the websites as well, where you can download this free information for yourself. Have a great day.